Hello, welcome to Grandma B's Busy Life. I'm back in Kim's kitchen and today we're making gluten-free cinnamon swirl bread. This is so good. Even for the people in our family who don't really like gluten-free items, I don't know what, they get in their head that gluten-free is not good and they won't even give it a try. But this is a hit with everyone. This recipe is from Flavor Walk and it's pretty simple. I'll link their website in the description box below. If you're new here, I'm glad to have you. And shout out to all of my subscribers. Thank you so much for sticking with me and coming back and viewing the videos. If you like gluten-free recipes, give me a thumbs up so that we can know that you'd like to see more recipes. And if you think Kim's adorable, thumbs up. All right, let's get started.
Okay, so you start with your you start with a mixture of cinnamon, granulated sugar, and brown sugar. This is for a topping and a swirl in the middle of your loaf. So we're starting with, I don't know how much.
2 cups.
2 cups of gluten-free flour. I use generic. It's great value from Walmart. It's about $3 for a bag that has 4 cups of flour in it. It's pretty inexpensive comparative to other brands, and I find that eating gluten-free in general is pretty expensive, so I try to find the lesser expensive of things so I can save some money.
And I'll do the price breakdown at the end so that you know how much it costs to make this recipe. And then the next is 1 cup of sugar and 1 teaspoon of baking powder, if you want to put that in while we're talking. So this is not a yeast bread, it's a quick bread, similar to maybe like a banana bread, but it obviously doesn't have fruit in it, but it has a cinnamon swirl in it. It really is fairly versatile too. Kim's even made it into muffins, which turned out really, really good too.
We took them to our oldest son's pond hockey tournament so that they were easy. You didn't have to slice it. You didn't have to deal with that.
So they held up okay?
Yeah, they were great. They were more dense than well, that's not necessarily true. They seemed more dense because they were in muffin shape as opposed to a loaf of bread where you can thinly slice a piece off or make a thicker piece.
But they didn't fall apart when you bagged them up or anything? That's awesome.
No, they were great. However, my Grandma B's dad had one and he said, "Well, what is this?" And I said, "It's a muffin." He goes, "Okay." And he ate it. I did not tell him it was gluten-free. I didn't tell him anything about it except cinnamon. And Grandpa, when you're watching this, it was gluten-free and it was delicious, I'm sure.
And he probably wouldn't have eaten it if he'd known.
He probably wouldn't have. So Grandpa, if you're watching this, leave a comment and let everybody know how it tasted, please.
So this, do you want to grab the whisk? She put in some salt. It calls for ½ teaspoon of salt, and she just ground some in. So it's not precise, but it's okay with the salt. The salt really just brings out the flavor of the other ingredients.
And I don't recommend a grinder salt. I would recommend getting like fine salt just because it breaks down easier.
We're just gonna mix it up and we're gonna make a well in the middle and then we'll pour in the liquid ingredients. The liquid ingredients are 1 egg, 1 cup milk, 1/3 cup of melted butter, and ½ teaspoon of vanilla extract. So can we just put the egg in there or just right in there?
I just put it into the bowl.
I can do that.
I'm not shy.
All right.
We're gonna dump this melted butter in. And it's been cool sitting here for a minute. You don't want it to be super hot. You don't want to like scramble your egg while it's sitting in there.
Have you ever made this with Rick?
Use this. There are a difference between liquid
No.
and dry measuring cups.
I know. Have you ever used regular milk?
I have not. I don't use regular milk. I'm not a fan. And our youngest son was allergic.
Don't watch.
Our youngest son has an allergy to casein, which is a product in dairy. And so we tend to steer clear of whole milk.
So you just use the almond milk in regular?
Yep.
Okay.
And I just think it tastes better.
We do.
Now we just mix it. I don't generally use a whisk. I use a spatula because it's not.
The purpose of the well is that it mixes your flour in slowly so that you're not mixing all of the ingredients too quickly. But this recipe is not very fussy. It really is pretty easy. She's just stirring it all together.
Yeah, it comes together. I think it's come together in about 10 minutes maybe at the most.
I'm gonna mix these together, these sugars and cinnamon while you're... That's a great sound.
Sorry. I generally don't use the full amount of sugar and cinnamon. I think it's a lot. It's about a half a cup. It's about, well, it is a half cup of sugar between the two and 2 tablespoons of cinnamon. If you like a lot of cinnamon sugar, by all means, use it all. I'm just not a huge fan of having so much.
You know what would be great? If you made our gluten-free white bread, I'll link the video below, but you could slice that and toast it and butter it and then sprinkle the leftover cinnamon sugar on it. Delicious.
All right, so here's what our dough's looking like. It's fairly thin. It's not super thick, but it's also,
It's about the consistency of
cake batter.
a cake batter, yeah, or a muffin batter.
Right.
Okay.
So, okay. So we're just using this silver pan. I'll get it out eventually. Bless you, honey. So I just sprayed this loaf pan with this vegetable oil spray from Great Value. It's gluten-free. There are some that aren't, so just be careful.
Read your labels.
Yes. There's also a lot of apps you can get as well that you can scan the barcode in the store and it will let you know if it's gluten-free or not. I like Spoonful, the app. It's amazing. So I use that often, actually.
Awesome.
So
Okay.
Now we're gonna just put half of this batter into the pan. So we're putting half the batter in right now, or the dough, whatever you feel so inclined to call it.
I would say it's a batter.
Okay, and if you've watched the white bread video, you can see the difference of consistency. There's no xanthan gum in here except for what was in our gluten-free flour mixture that's already been pre-mixed into that flour.
Do I just sprinkle it on top?
Yeah, I don't know how you're sprinkling with a fork, but have fun with that.
Watch this. Oh yeah, I think I need a spoon.
Yep. Here's a spoon. So I generally try to put more of the mixture in the middle for your swirl and less on top, because when you take a big bite into cinnamon sugar on the top of your bread, it can kind of be overwhelming.
Yeah, not so good. The texture throws it off.
Yes.
Is that enough or should I do a little more?
A little more, why not?
Okay.
And then at this point, I just tend to take my knife, or I'm gonna use this straight spatula because it's here, and I just kind of swirl it in here just to make sure that it gets through all of it. Okay.
It also creates texture, so when you dump more on top, it's...
Yep. It's gonna go throughout the bread. Yes. So now we're just gonna top it off with the rest.
Oh, looks so good. Smells good too.
My goodness. Okay. And then we're just gonna do the same thing. And I mix it on the top too. You can leave it just sitting on top instead of, calm down, Grandma B. Don't get crazy. You can just leave it set on top, but I tend to mix it in because I just think it gives it a more edible feel in your mouth. When it's just like this, it tends to get really, I guess crispy is a word because the sugars crystallize or cook, and it can just kind of cut it. The first time I didn't mix it, and it kind of...
So we have about that much left, but I don't know that it really needs more. Do you think?
I don't think so.
Besides, I want some for my cinnamon toast.
It just kind of, I guess, cut the roof of my mouth a bit when I didn't mix it in a little bit. And I like the way it looks once it's mixed in.
Look how cute.
Okay, so now we're just gonna leave it like this. We're gonna put it in an oven at 350 degrees. There is a slight variation of time when you're using a dark loaf pan versus a light loaf pan. I have both, and I've made it in both. And when I'm using my dark loaf pan, it takes about 60 minutes. And when I'm using this lighter one, it takes about 70 to 75 because it takes longer for the pan to heat up, I'm assuming. I'm not really sure.
But you like it better in the light pan.
I
Cooked
do.
longer in the light pan.
Yes, it
Okay.
gives it more of a golden brown throughout the bottom of the bread without making it dry while it's taking longer to cook, and it doesn't get so dark on the edges so quickly.
All right, we'll bake it and show you when it's done.
Okay, so the cinnamon swirl bread came out of the oven. It was in the oven for about 67 minutes.
About 67 minutes.
Right, well, you know, I put it in for 60 minutes and then I added another 7, obviously, because I didn't feel it was quite done.
Look how much it rose though. It's well above the pan now, so looks good.
So you don't cool it in the pan, you tip it out of the pan and let it cool, and your cinnamon sugar will probably fall off.
Oh my gosh, it looks so good. Do you like this bread? Yeah. This is Brady. You've seen him before. Woo.
Okay, so you should probably wait to cool, for it to cool for a little while. It just cuts better when it's
We can't
cool.
wait though.
No, it smells so good. My husband just came out of the bedroom and was like, oh my gosh, our house smells so delicious.
It does smell really good.
There we go.
You gonna try it with us, Brady? Okay.
Okay, it's hot.
Why don't you cut that piece into 3 pieces?
It's very hot. Okay? Huh? 1, yes. It's really hard to cut on a cooling rack.
2, 3.
2, 3. Which one you want, Brady? Yeah, I knew it. Here you go.
Grandma will take one. All right, ready to try it?
Yeah.
Don't burn your mouth.
1.
That was so good.
So good. It is a bit messy, but it's worth it.
Thank you so much for joining us. Let us know in the comment box if you try this.
Make sure to subscribe and hit the like button.
Have a great day. See you again soon.